Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're steering the ship at a major enterprise, you already know that tech investments are heavy, they're complex, and they carry a massive amount of risk. So today, we're unpacking TOGAF's Phase C, Information Systems Architectures, and we're doing this strictly through an executive lens. We want to focus on exactly how this specific phase translates your high-level business vision into real, concrete strategic value. Let's get right into it.
Here is our roadmap for this briefing. We'll start with aligning IT with strategy. Then we'll step inside Phase C architecture. After that, we'll weigh data versus application approaches, look at progressing to target architectures, and wrap up with roadmap and resource allocation.
But before we get into the mechanics, I want to pose what is literally the billion-dollar question. How do we actually guarantee that IT investments deliver real business value? I mean, we have all seen projects that look absolutely incredible on paper, right? But then, after millions of dollars and months of grueling effort, the business needle hasn't even budged. Well, the answer to that question lies right at the heart of Phase C.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, Aligning IT with Strategy, the critical link.
You know, way too often, enterprise architecture gets treated like it's just this isolated IT exercise. And frankly, that is a fundamental mistake. Phase C is here to ensure that your information systems architecture actively enables both the broader business architecture and your ultimate architecture vision. Think about it. If a system doesn't directly support your top-level business objectives, why on earth are we building it? Phase C is that vital bridge. It guarantees the technology you're pouring money into actually has a strategic job to do, aligning perfectly with your overarching enterprise goals.
Moving right along to Section 2, Inside Phase C Architecture, where we operate.
When you look at the overarching TOGAF ADM cycle, Phase C is right there in the engine room. We've already moved past Phase A's architecture vision and Phase B's business architecture. So this is the critical pivot point. It's where those high-level theoretical business goals finally start colliding with hard technological realities. This is exactly where we determine what our data and applications actually need to look like to make that big-picture business vision a reality.
So, what are we literally trying to achieve here? Well, Phase C has some incredibly explicit core objectives. First off, we need to develop the target information systems architectures. And yes, that encompasses both data and application architectures. But pay close attention to the next 2 points, addressing the statement of architecture work and resolving specific stakeholder concerns. This means we aren't just building tech for tech's sake. We are directly answering the questions your board and business unit leaders are asking. Finally, and this is absolutely crucial for resource planning, we identify the candidate architecture roadmap components. We're essentially laying down the tracks for where the organization needs to go.
And that brings us to a really fascinating crossroads. Section 3, Data versus Application Approaches, the strategic choice.
Within Phase C, we have to tackle both data and applications. Now, the TOGAF standard explicitly states you can do this in either order. But as an executive, you really need to grasp the strategic tension here. It's kind of like a choice between a data-driven approach, which is like building a rock-solid foundation from scratch, versus an application-driven approach, which is honestly more like buying a pre-built house and just hoping it fits on your lot. Both sides have their advocates, sure, but the sequence you choose here is going to drastically impact how your entire enterprise functions, scales, and integrates for the next decade.
It's worth noting that the TOGAF standard specifically calls out Steven Spiewak's Enterprise Architecture Planning, which is a highly respected framework, by the way, and it strongly recommends a data-driven approach. Why? Well, because data is the lifeblood of your business objectives. Applications, they come and go. Vendors change all the time. But your customer data, your financial records, those core operational metrics, that data is foundational. By defining your data architecture first, you're ensuring that whatever shiny new systems you bring in later are forced to align with your foundational business truth rather than the other way around.
But hey, we have to acknowledge the reality of the boardroom. A lot of organizations out there take an application-driven approach. They set their sights on mission-critical applications, like those massive ERP or CRM rollouts. And because these monolithic systems often bundle technology infrastructure right alongside prepackaged business logic, companies end up treating the implementation of these core apps as their primary focus. But here's the massive warning label straight from the TOGAF standard. Because these systems are so robust and self-contained, integration issues often become a major challenge. You might solve a specific problem in one department, but you potentially just created a completely isolated silo that flat out refuses to talk to the rest of your enterprise.
Let's shift gears and look at how we get there. Section 4, Progressing to Target Architectures, the Journey.
So how do we actually execute this journey within Phase C? It's a highly systematic progression.
Step 1 is assessing the baseline architecture. We absolutely have to know exactly where our data and applications stand today. Step 2 is identifying the gaps. Where does our current reality fall short of our ultimate business vision? And then step 3 is defining the target information systems architecture. Notice we don't just guess at the target. The target is explicitly engineered to bridge those exact gaps we just found in step 2. It is a highly logical, verifiable process that completely takes the guesswork out of your IT planning.
Which brings us to perhaps the most critical part for executive leadership, Section 5, Roadmap and Resource Allocation, Actionable Outcomes. I really want to hammer this concept home. The gaps you find between your baseline and your target architectures, those directly identify your candidate's architecture roadmap components. This is vital. A gap isn't just some technical flaw or an IT failure. It is the exact, specific component that must go onto your strategic roadmap. It translates a technical deficiency into a concrete, fundable business initiative.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that this process completely transforms how you handle strategic resource allocation. Because those gaps dictate your project prioritization, these roadmap components clarify exactly where your budget needs to go. It aligns your personnel and your time investments directly with that business vision we established right at the beginning. And most importantly for executives, it drastically mitigates risk. You are no longer funding someone's pet project or falling victim to the latest software hype. You are only funding projects that target verified, documented architecture gaps.
I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative question. If your next major ERP integration fails, is it going to be because you bought the wrong system? Or is it because you never built the data foundation to support it? Phase C of the TOGAF ADM forces you to confront that exact tension before the capital is spent. It ensures that your technology actually serves your business, that your roadmap is driven by hard evidence, and that your enterprise is built on a foundation that's actually going to last. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I really encourage you to take a hard look at your own information systems architecture, because the success of your entire enterprise strategy just might depend on it.